Could Kadarius Toney be sidelined longer than expected? I'll give you all the latest on Toney's injury, plus everything you need to know from Kansas City Chiefs training camp day 2 out there in St. Joe on today's KCSN Update.
This is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
What is up, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome into today's KCSN Update. I am Tucker Franklin. Super stoked to be getting you up to date with what is going on at Kansas City Chiefs training camp in St. Joe. A rainy day in St. Joe. If you were up there, you knew that Chiefs started inside for practice, moved outside eventually. Didn't get a whole lot going on outside, but you did get to see some couple plays that I'll show you here in a little bit. But Chiefs training camp moves on despite of the weather. Even if it's raining, they're still going to be practicing, still going to be putting guys up at the podium as well. So I'll have all the updates from the podium and even some updates on Kadarius Toney's injury, as I mentioned at the top. But first, I want to get to a couple of the highlights that I saw from my friend Chris Roush. Put these out on Twitter from KQ2. You can go find him there at Chris R. Roush. Here's a play right here that one of my favorite plays. Rashee Rice really laying out here, catching the ball from Patrick Mahomes, a perfectly placed ball from Patrick Mahomes, right over Trent McDuffie. Perfect little ball placement. Great diving play from Rashee Rice. Want to see a little bit more of that now. We might need to see a little bit more with some of this injury news that we're going to be talking about here in a little bit. But another play that I was really impressed by. Undrafted free agent running back Deneric Prince has really shown an ability to show out in the pass catching game. As a running back, it's going to be very important for him to make the roster. Going to be kind of a crowded running back room. Been a lot of buzz for him out of rookie camp, OTAs, rookie mini camp, everything that they've been going on so far. The Chiefs have been very high on him. Lots of buzz coming from Deneric Prince, and you can see why here with some of these plays. His movement ability, his ability to catch the ball, his ability to run after the catch. Very exciting. So those are a couple plays that I wanted to show you. Came from day 2 of Kansas City Chiefs training camp. Again, not a whole lot going on out there. Not a whole lot of highlights or plays coming out from there because they did start the first session of practice inside. Fans are not allowed to be inside. Very limited media allowed inside as well at training camp. So don't get to see a whole lot from that until they go back outside. They did go outside for a little bit, and we were able to see some stuff there. But let me get you caught up on the Kadarius Toney situation. And I think we kind of need to take it back to the beginning on Sunday. We're going to kind of rewind the timeline a little bit. I'll give it to you as it happened, right? So on Sunday, Kadarius Toney was warming up before practice, as a lot of these guys do that are special teamers, contribute on special teams. They're returning punts while everyone's stretching. It's a way they get themselves loose, get themselves ready for practice, a pre-practice routine. Kadarius Toney back there fielding punts, getting a feel for how practice is going to go. Apparently tweaks his knee. Something that I didn't really notice being out there at training camp. I didn't really notice that Kadarius Toney did tweak his knee at all, but he walks off and he is not at practice for the rest of the day. It's something Andy Reid mentioned at the end of practice on Sunday. He said, hey, Kadarius Toney tweaked his knee, held him out, precautionary stuff. Just he tweaked it during a punt return, and we'll see what goes from there. I don't think really anybody thought much of Kadarius Toney missing it a little bit of disappointment, but he doesn't practice again on Monday. I don't think that surprised a lot of people that Kadarius Toney wasn't out on the field on Monday. But it seems to be more than a tweak, as Travis Kelce took to the podium. He had some things to say about Kadarius Toney. He was asked about Kadarius Toney and just his playmaking ability, and kind of went into his injury as well. And this little soundbite from Travis Kelce you'll hear in a second kind of sounded off some alarms of Chiefs Kingdom.
I mean, just electric, man. He's just a high-energy guy. When he gets the ball, he's flying around. He's a hard worker. We're going to miss KT's just, his ability to make a play out of nowhere and just, kind of gain that momentum. He was that piece for us in the Super Bowl. He was that piece for us throughout the season last year. And, just getting that thing right. We got all the confidence in the world in our training staff here to get him ready either by season or early on in the season. Got our fingers crossed that we get him back as soon as possible, and it's just, letting him heal up, and we'll take care of the load until he gets back. But KT ain't going anywhere, man. We missed that guy already.
Now that quote kind of perked the eyebrows of a lot of Chiefs Kingdom, I think, when it started to make its way around Twitter, at least. And soon after that quote was made, ESPN's Adam Schefter tweeted out a report that said Kadarius Toney, who underwent an off-season cleanup procedure on his knee, aggravated the injury while fielding a punt and is expected to miss some time during training camp, but be ready for the start of the regular season, per league source. Now, I think that's a little bit of new information. I don't think that we knew that Kadarius Toney underwent an off-season cleanup procedure on his knee. That seemed to be new and something that caught my interest as well, saying, oh, this is something that he's re-aggravated. That's not necessarily a good thing. And then Kadarius Toney, I believe only a few minutes out, 10 minutes after Adam Schefter had tweeted out his tweet, Kadarius Toney tweeted from his own Twitter account, report slightly wrong, but I'll definitely be back soon. Red heart, yellow heart. Love you, #Chiefs Kingdom. So Kadarius Toney seemingly confident that he will be back on the field. I know a lot of Chiefs Kingdom is a little bit worried because that wide receiver room is kind of thin. When you start to look at it, especially without Kadarius Toney, when you look at that wide receiver room, could be a problem without him. Want to see him back on the field because, as Travis mentioned at the front end of his quote, the top of the quote, he's an explosive player, a guy that put the Chiefs in position to win the Super Bowl. I want to see him on the field. I want to see him do a lot of explosive plays because he is fun to watch when he is on the football field. But that's the latest on the Kadarius Toney injury. It sounds like that we might not see him at all this preseason. I would be surprised. Hopefully we get him back by camp. But if you have to hold him out all camp to make sure he's healthy by week 1, by all means do that. Make sure that the guy's healthy, ready week 1. I want to see him on the field. As I mentioned, I think he's an incredibly fun football player to watch, and I cannot wait for him to take the field and be fully healthy. That's what I wanted him to be. I want him to be fully healthy. So let's turn the page from the Kadarius Toney injury and let's get to the podium. I'll give you some of my favorite nuggets and some of my favorite things that came from the players and coaches at the podium today. Steve Spagnuolo, Trent McDuffie, Travis Kelce, and Sky Moore were all at the podium on Monday. Let's start with the DC, Steve Spagnuolo. Here's what he had to say about being a top 10 defense. We heard Nick Bolton yesterday talk about that was his goal, being a top 10 defense in efficiency. They talked about the efficiency rating, and that's what they're very focused on. Here's kind of what Steve Spagnuolo had to say about that.
Listen, we're all prideful guys. I mean, we want every defensive player wants their unit to be noted for great defense. So I'm with Nick 100%. I don't get wrapped up too much in the numbers during the year, but at the end of the year, I mean, we're always going to evaluate what we were. And we talked about in the OTAs about where we've been defensively. Now, the one thing that's a little bit different, and I conveyed this to those guys, is, you know, conventional NFL stats says #1 defense in the NFL is the total yardage team. We don't really go down that road. To us, it's a defensive efficiency. There's 9 categories to defensive efficiency. You guys have probably seen it before. And we want to be #1 in the NFL in defensive efficiency. Points allowed, third down, red zone, right? It's all the rankings in those particular categories. So I'm with Nick. I'd like us to climb up there. I'm not going to worry about that week to week. But at the end of the year, I'd like that to be the ultimate goal.
Sticking with the defensive side of the ball here, let's go to Trent McDuffie. He's talking about the defense's attitude coming into this year. As Nick Bolton's kind of talked about on yesterday, on Sunday, that kind of tired of being disrespected as a defense. This defense is kind of taking on a new attitude. Here's what Trent had to say.
I think a big thing for us is just takeaways. We know we got guys who make plays, we can cover, we can play the zone, we can blitz the quarterback, but big thing for us is just getting that ball back. And I know Spags talked a lot about attitude defense and 11 guys at the ball 24/7. I think that's something that this defense is really going to hone in on, is just making sure we don't give up on any play.
All right, let's get to the offensive side of the ball, the fun side of the ball for a lot of people. Travis Kelce and Sky Moore at the podium representing the offense there. I want to start with Travis Kelce and what he had to say about this Kansas City Chiefs team and the young talent that they have, kind of saying the time is now for this team. We got a lot of young talent. Here's what he had to say.
Man, I'm excited. I'm excited about every young guy that we got here, and there's no, let's wait until this guy develops. These guys are ready right now, and you see him flying out there. Rasheed had a bunch of great plays today. Noah Gray had a great day today. Sky Moore had about 3 or 4 touchdowns and some great plays. So in terms of the young talent we have here, it's just guys are ready to play because they're putting their nose to the grind and just getting after it, man. They're just getting after it.
One of those guys who's a big part of that young core on the offensive side of the ball. Sky Moore also at the podium. He was talking about how he's getting more comfortable in this Chiefs offense, and as his role starts to expand within the offense.
30 times more comfortable. You know, just knowing, like, having an idea of the whole playbook, going through it 1 year before, and, you know, just understanding the culture that, you know, that the Chiefs have in Kansas City.
Now, it's no secret the wide receiver room is tightly contested. There's only so many spots, and they've got a lot of wide receivers on this 90-man roster right now. Sky Moore kind of goes into the competition that they've got, but also the camaraderie that they're building in that wide receiver room.
I was just telling Mir earlier today, like, I love Richie. Richie's my favorite receiver right now. So, but I feel like we got a lot of great guys in the room. It's super competitive in the room, but at the same time, like, we got a good bond. So all the guys eat lunch together. You know, we laugh, we joke, but we also work, and we know that it's a competitive room for sure.
What makes Richie your favorite? You kind of smile.
I like how he moves. Like, he does the stuff that I think I'm doing what he's doing, but he kind of does it a little different.
Now let's wrap up with a quote from Travis Kelce, one of my favorites of the day, talking about the offense that Andy Reid has in place and kind of the creativity that he allows his players to have. But Travis Kelce made sure that, hey, a lot of me being open, that's not me just improvising. That's Big Red.
I'm trying my hardest to just run this thing like Coach Reid dials it up, man. And that's where, you know, you want to get creative, but at the right time, at the right moment, that creativity will kind of play itself out. You know, Coach Reid does a great job of, you know, putting a lot of work into making these plays make sense for the quarterbacks. So you don't want to get off script too much. And as much as everybody thinks I'm getting off script all the time and just getting wide open, for the majority of the part, I'm just running what's called, and Coach Reid's getting me open in terms of play call and dialing that thing up against the right defense. So, yeah, all that creative stuff is fun, but for the most part, I would say about 99% of the time, I'm doing what Coach Reid wants me to do.
All right, that's going to do it for today's KCSN update. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you liked the video, hey, make sure to go down there and hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss anything that we are putting out here at KC Sports Network on our YouTube page. You can also follow us on Twitter at KC Sports Network. You're going to get all those live videos, those live highlights, live tweet nuggets, all in the moment over there on Twitter. So make sure to go check us out if you're on Twitter as well. But you can always stay up to date with us here at YouTube. I'm going to be dropping these videos daily, recapping what had happened at Chiefs training camp as football is here. Football is back. Super excited. Drop a thumbs up in the chat if you are excited for football to be back. I know I am. But I'll be back tomorrow again with another video, keeping you up to date with what's going on with your Kansas City Chiefs. So until then, I'll talk to you later.